Hi guys, you're welcome to Web Technologies. We're still on Laravel for beginners. We'll be looking at Eloquent, which is a Laravel active record implementation. You can use Eloquent in replace of the query builder. So we'll be building on the source code that we have, which is the new project, and I'll be introducing Eloquent. Firstly, we'll need to create a new DB. We're going to create another table. We'll migrate and we'll do some other things. So let me walk you through on how to actually achieve Eloquent in your Laravel project. So right there in my terminal, I'm still right there in the vagrant box, but I'm in the new project. I will actually be creating a new database, which I'll say touch database .sqlite. We are using SQLite. So I have a database called SQLite. Look at it over there. So after that, I'm actually going to create the table where I'm going to run PHP artisan make migration, create. We're going to call it movies. Let's do movies this time. Movies table. Whereby we'll assign the create function, which is the movies. This way. So it has actually created a migration. Let's get to look at the migration here. You see the create movies table, or have the movies. So let's get to do something quickly here. Let's include a field table. Let's call it string. That's the particular name of the movie. It should be in lowercase. Don't forget that. And we call it name. So after that, we said to save. Now we're going to migrate this table to a database. So we run PHP artisan migrate. So we've actually migrated the movies table. So now let me quickly replicate the controllers and also the views. So right there we'll go to the routes, the web.php. I'm actually going to replicate this. We've done something of this nature. So just copy that out. Let's have a route for movies. And we're going to actually create the movies controller. So let's save that. Now I'm going to go back to my terminal to create this controller. I'm going to run PHP artisan make controller movies controller. It must be the same with the created controller here. So you run enter to actually create a controller. So let's get to look at the controller. We have that in the app, HTTP, the controllers. So let me refresh the table or refresh the file tree to have the movies controller. You can see the movies controller over here. So we're going to actually create a function, which is the index. We have that in the musicians controller I've created earlier. So I'm going to just copy this, just make it very simple. We have moved back to the movies controller. Just move down here, paste that here. That is if you actually want to get all our content, and this is using the DB query. This is actually DB query. I've explained DB query in my previous tutorial. and we still have to change something quickly here. It should be movies, and it's calling which table? It's calling the movies table. Movies table. Save that, right? Now I need to create a sort of movies. Let me look at my web PHP, which is calling the index. That's cool. Go back to the movies controller. I'll need to create a subfolder called movies, which will actually call this particular variable, which is the movies. Anywhere you see, just change that to movies. So let me go to my view, which is actually sitting. Let me collapse this. Go to the resources, views. We have the musicians. Now we need to create the new folder called movies. Click enter. Inside the movies, we create an index.play.php. So right there, we just mimic what we have in the index blade here. Let's copy that. We've done that already, so we don't need to start writing a new code. Now we extend layout. We have the content. Let's call this all movies. For each loop, for each movies as a movie. So a movie. Now it's going to spit out the name of the particular movie. So that's fine. We need some data to actually pass the movie name. We actually need to pass in some data, whereby we call on PHP artisan tinker to pass in some list of movies. So we're actually going to run this PHP artisan tinker. I'm very sure you're familiar with the artisan tinker as a shell script of the Vagrant box. Now I'm going to actually create a DB item. So we run DB. So for that, call table. What's the table name? Call movies. Now we need to insert first, which is name. That's the field, and we can call that. That's the name of the movie. Let's call it Home Alone. Home Alone, comma. When was it created? Created at, which is actually going to be the new date and time. Date time. Give it a comma. And when was it updated? We'll give it updated at new date and time. The date time. So we close that over there. I'll give it this way. So the first movie name we're creating is Home Alone, whereby we're actually going to create that in the movies table. So let's run that. That's true. Let's create one more. Let's call that Spider-Man, the name of the movie, which is actually going to be Spider-Man. That's true. So for us to actually get this, just let us see the list of what we've created. Let's run a DB table. That means we're going to call the table, which is movies. And we're going to pass in the get function to get all the details there. So we now have the first ID with the name Home Alone, and the second is Spider-Man. Now that's cool. So from this particular view, we should be able to see this right there in the terminals or in the browser. So right there, we'll move back to the movies controller. We need to include the use DB so as to use the database. Save that out. So let's quickly check that's up. We'll go to Homestead app / we're going to call movies. Movies. Click enter. Can you see all movies? We have the first Home Alone, the second Spider-Man. That's very fine. So let's quickly get back the second controller, which is the show. We can actually get that from the musician's controller. We actually have something of that nature. So let's copy that out. Copy it out. Let's move back to the movies controller. Now we're going to find by the ID this time. I've explained this when we were talking about query builder. This query builder, these are things we're going to actually change to Eloquent. But I'm just trying to build a structure that we're going to work Eloquent on. So let me quickly admit, we actually need to create a variable of movie, not movies, because that was what we passed right inside the show. If you should look at the show, if you notice, it's called the movie name, not movies. So that's cool. Let's go back to the movies controller. That's set appropriately. Now we need to go to the route, which is the web PHP. Now we need to create the route for the movies to show the particular ID. Now we change this to movies. We have a movie, musicians. So this should be movies. Controller show. Save that out. You're okay to go. So we're going to actually test this right in the browser. Now let's do a / to the first. You have Home Alone. To the second, you have Spider-Man. That's cool. So now let's introduce Eloquent. We're going to introduce Eloquent with these steps. Right there, we need to get out of here. That's Ctrl+C will take you out, and we need to create a model. Now we're going to run the PHP. Let me clear this. Creating a model. A model is a representation of something in your system. So we have a table called movies. So our model will be a movie. So let's run this command. PHP artisan make model. We call it movie. The model created successfully. Let's get to look at our model, which actually sits in the app. Let's collapse the HTTP. Can you find our model over here called the movie, which extends the model, which calls the Eloquent class. So now for us to use our model effectively here, we quickly do something. I'll move to the PHP artisan tinker to show you some stuff. Tinker. So let me show you something quickly. App /movie, all, just to get everything we have right there. Can you see we have to the app /movie directory, we have the first ID, Home Alone, and we have when it was created and updated. We have the second ID, second 2, and the name Spider-Man. So we can as well run this kind of query or this kind of command app. Still go back to our /movie. Now we can say where the ID, we have an ID, it's greater than 2. Just structure. Now we run the get function to get that. You can see nothing because where the ID is greater than 2, this is 2 already. So we can easily amend this is greater than or equals to 2. It's actually going to bring the second item. Can you see that? So that's fine. We can also run something of this nature. Movie. And say block. That's the name. We need the name field. So we run something of this nature. It's actually going to bring out the names alone. That's the name field, Home Alone and Spider-Man. We can also run something of this when we call on movie block. So we call the name. Let us forget that. You can easily call the first item, which is actually going to be Home Alone. So that's cool. We move back to the routes, to the controllers rather, to use the movies controller. So we need to amend these and use the Eloquent to actually call on the movies data. So right there, we're going to actually change this. We need to include something over here. You say use, which is actually going to point to the directory app /, and we're going to call movie. So that we actually call the model, which is actually sitting over here, app and movie.php. So that's why we need to include that here. So we can amend this line and pass only movie and call the all, just like the way we did in the Tinker function. Save that out just like the way we did when we were calling movie block movie. That was where we called the all, which was the first. I think it was all over here, something of this nature. So that's cool. We have the movie all, which actually returned the list of movies. So let's quickly look at that in our browser. Can you see that? We have Home Alone and Spider-Man came out without no issue. We can also do the same thing here. This time we're going to modify this, change from the query builder to movie, and we call on this to actually find the ID. So we save that. So that is still going to return the appropriate one. So let's return the second item. which is Spider-Man. Once we return the first, we have Home Alone. So this is just the basics of Eloquent. In the next tutorial, we'll move to another section of Eloquent, where we'll be going deeper slightly into Eloquent for Laravel. Thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.